How many can experience one of those or have experienced one of those? An aha moment. Oh, wow. One of those wows. Oh, that happened to me, 1981? 30. Light and I were in California, Ojai, California, traveling around and doing workshops at Unity churches. And we had a little bit of a break between gigs. And we were camping out in the campground and playing guitar and singing one evening, and a couple joined us. And after a while, they invited us to come to a learning center that their teacher was going to be at the next day, sharing a message. And we said, sure, that sounds great. Who is it? And they said, Krishnamurti. And I said, the Krishnamurti? And they said, yeah, he comes here 3 weeks every year. So we were there, front row and center, no question about that. And he did a lovely talk, and then he was taking questions after the talk. And he got right in the middle of an answer. And it was one of those moments where it was magical. I wasn't much further away than this from him. And he kind of was talking around, and then he just stopped. He just kind of went like that. And looked right at me, and he said, if you would truly come to know the peace you're seeking so diligently, you will begin to watch your mind like you would watch a rattlesnake. Just embrace that image for a moment, you know? Whoa. He said, more, you should watch the mind than the rattlesnake, because the rattlesnake can only bite and kill your body. The mind can strike and destroy your capacity to drink the sweet nectar of God's cup of existence. Anybody say amen to that?
Amen.
You can hear it, can't you? Boy, well, that was like, okay, I got it. I mean, you know, when the hair on the back of your head is standing up, you figure something's going on here. It might be worthy of attention. And so I started working with it, and the first thing that comes up, of course, is, well, how the hell do you watch your mind? What's that all about? And it wasn't too much longer that I was introduced to a meditation process called Vipassana meditation, where I sit and watch the squirrel cage up here do its thing. You know, I'm just watching breath rise, fall, noticing distraction, watching breath rise, fall, noticing distraction. And then after a while, it begins to deepen a little bit, and there's kind of a little separation begins to occur, where I begin to lose my total identity with the play of the mind and begin to take on kind of a new identity. It's not new in and of itself, it's ancient in its origin, but it's new to my awareness. And the newness was to begin to think of myself as the witness to the play of the mind, as opposed to be identifying completely as the play of the mind, as the minister, as the father, as the husband, as the wife, as the golfer, as the, you know. Those things are still true about me, yes, but more and more and more, I begin to separate all of that and buy into an ongoing capacity to remember I am the observer of the play of the mind and not its object. So a whole different game starts to come by. And that's was pretty much why I've got this little guy, this beloved here. Many times we've been accused of being snake worshippers around here. I keep this on my little thing. But he reminds me of that. And I think it's righteous. You might want to put a little snake in your life to remind you in a very dynamic kind of way. And it's like a rattlesnake. And it can really screw things up. Yeah, for sure. The play of the mind is probably central to all of the awakening traditions that I've studied. The idea that it's very helpful in terms of promoting a movement through this ever-changing flow of stuff that we call our lives, the form of it, circumstance of it, to be able to move through that with an ongoing sense of equanimity and grace, to be able to move through it with the capacity to reach out and touch, with kindness and caring, in all cases, that emerges out of a growing capacity to sit quietly and watch the mind at play, and to remember that we have the capacity to choose exactly what kind of mental configurations we're going to give our attention to and our agreement to, thus the energetic of moving into some kind of action that is suggested by a play of the mind. How many have seen the movie Beautiful Mind? A Beautiful Mind. Most of you have. I've seen it about 18 times. I bought it. I just love it. And every time I watch it, something else pops out. You remember the movie? John Nash, teacher in economics, Princeton, won the Nobel Prize for economics. And then he did that wonderful talk at the speech where he talked about the love is the greatest kind of thing. But there were other places where he made comments about it. And right at the end, toward the end of the movie, he was talking to an acquaintance. And the acquaintance said, well, do you still see them? John Nash suffered from acute schizophrenia. He had images in his mind that were so real, they captured his imagination entirely. And they became his reality base. I mean, he was absolutely convinced he was working for the Secret Service as a spy and trying to decipher certain codes that were evident in newspapers and he went so far as to have these little places where he would drop off secret messages to headquarters. There would be an old mailbox somewhere with but just the mind at play, my God. But there's nobody home, in his case, at that point in time, to discriminate. So he would have these thoughts, and that was his reality, if you can imagine. He actually saw these people as a profound projection onto his, real life as to this fantasy life that he lived in. And his emergence from that, well, that's not exactly accurate to say emergence from it, because he never really got cured from the visions, from the scenarios, but he did learn a way of relating to them that liberated him from being in bondage to their impact in his life. And that was what the power of the movie was all about. And that's the power that we have too. But this particular piece, toward the end of the movie, the fellow was asking him, but do you still see these things, John? I am on a diet of the mind. I simply choose not to indulge certain appetites anymore. Wow. I mean, do you sense the power of that recognition? The power of that practice? I'm on a diet of the mind. I simply choose not to indulge certain appetites anymore. You got any appetites hanging around? You'd probably be a little lighthearted, a little more lighthearted if you weren't indulging them so much. Just saying. So, I would invite you to take a look at that. Just watch the mind at play. Not many of us have to deal with the incredible challenge of an authentically schizophrenic mind full of realities that transfer into an indelible hit on our consciousness, but most of us just run around holding thoughts that simply aren't healthy. They're not in the tradition of Paul. Paul had these moments. He and I don't see eye to eye on a number of things, but he was certainly right on in Philippians, 4th chapter, the 8th verse. Consider this. He's talking to his buds. So finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Think on those things. Let that be the compelling issues of your mind at play.